Okay. Everybody ready? Usually we do this in a really nice, loud bar, so don't feel weird if you want to just start screaming out like we are in a nice, loud bar. It's not like a theater in the sense that you're not going to get kicked out for being loud in here. So I just wanted to make that known. My name is Mike the Intern. How are you guys? Thanks for being here. To my right, a man who I've had the pleasure of sitting across from for almost a decade now.
If that's a pleasure, Jesus,
it is a pleasure.
God help you, man.
It is a pleasure. I don't find many. The legend. He can't beat me in a foot race anymore, but he can still outdrink me. Everyone, let's give a big warm welcome to Ned Reynolds. He still can't outdrink me. I'm not.
And I can't outdrink him too. Believe me.
He definitely can. Again, I just want to say a big thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors up there: Godfather's Pizza, Citizens Bank Rogersville, Marshall Chevrolet, Coyotes, ADT Security, Executive Printing, Cox Roofing, Safe Haven, and of course, the law firm of Webster and Carlton for helping us put this on every year. And then a big, big thank you to the Alamo Draft House for kind of coming up to us with this idea. One of our coworkers, Jamie, and our general manager, Brian, came to me about 3 or 4 months ago and said, hey, we kind of have this outside of the box idea. I was like, I don't know, we'll see, and I'm super glad that we did it. So, again, Alamo has been fantastic, and again, thank you guys for coming here year in, year out. The fact that you return every year just means the world to me, and now that I've said my piece, we also would like to say, what? Oh, yeah. And you can hear me better. How's the AC, too, right? We don't want to, okay, let's not go down that road. Also, I want to say a big hello and welcome to the legendary Art Haynes is in the room tonight. And these guys to my left really don't need any, I can't keep coming up with really big ways to say it.
Oh, man, you're Mike the
mean,
Intern.
I'm trying to do it. I love him. You know him. Danan Hughes, everyone. And the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. How's that? Short and sweet.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's great that we're in a theater. First of all, it's the only time you're going to be able to raise heck in here because the manager of the Alamo Draft House Theater is right here. You get one night. You can do that. You try to come in here next Saturday and do it.
She was the one making the
You're
face when I said you can be as loud as you want.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I couldn't tell who that was. Okay. Sorry.
And it's fitting that it's in a theater because Danan gets confused for Denzel Washington all the time. we can't go on the road.
How many drinks that person had?
Yeah, and then or Will Smith. They go, is that Will Smith? Or, in fact, the Kingdom Queens are here tonight, right? They are making their annual appearance, like the Birds of Capistrano.
Oh yeah, you know they're here.
Oh yeah, and one of them asked, I won't say which one, goes, is that Denzel Washington? I go, no, that's Danan Hughes. So now this happens a lot though because
she really loves the movie Training Day.
Art. People go, is that Brad Pitt? Because they know he's from Springfield. You've been confused for Brad Pitt all the time, haven't you?
What year did you graduate Kickapoo?
And then I get it from Ned Reynolds. They go, is that Abraham Lincoln? Is that?
Gang, there is a sports expression that we can't use in mixed audience, but that's the answer to that.
See, I can't say that stuff like that because he's going to punish me for that comment tomorrow. You're not the one that's going to get punched. I am.
You can have some fun.
I'm the one that's going to get it.
Well, I got a couple of things to get off my chest first.
Oh, okay. Well, let's let him.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to all the sponsors because I do have ADT. Give a shout out to ADT. Yes, I have 25 years, I think. Godfather's Pizza, really cool apple streusel.
Yeah,
you didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Very cool apple streusel.
Are
I'm a Jersey guy,
Godfathers?
so I really appreciate good pizza. And I'm very thankful that I have not needed Webster and Carlton, the law firm. The other part is I think I'm gonna do part of this interview with my back to the group because Art Haynes and Ned Reynolds beat me in fantasy football every
exactly
year.
right.
So I feel like I need to protest those guys.
How'd you let Ned beat you?
I don't know.
I'll tell you how it
Sean
happened, too.
Barber cheated.
It was magic. I used the computer, and the computer's never wrong.
The computer's never wrong. Well, it's cool to be back here. You guys are more comfortable. Don't fall asleep in these Barca loungers.
You're about ready to fall asleep. The liquor's kicking in. and
He was the
you're
first
just-
one here.
I doubt. Well, like we can. That explains a lot.
Guys, let me
we got
get
to
us
get rowdy
started
in
here.
here. We
real-
got everybody
real quick.
thinks this is
The,
like 2022, right? The year we lost the AFC Championship game to the Bengals, and traded Tyreek Hill, and like, oh, we're all gonna die. He's covered in sackcloth and ashes. It's gonna be a hailstorm. The Chiefs are done. That's kind of the feeling now, which is that's okay. The only thing that was good about that Super Bowl was the fact that it took the bright lights off us. And so we could do our work without everybody watching us every day and breaking us down. And so we're coming back, and we're going to get after it. So just know that, all right? Yeah.
Mitch, you're in a way asking the next question. Is there such a thing, and I think the answer is probably yes, as a hangover from a circumstance like that when you've lost a game in which the Chiefs were favored, Philadelphia played well, but the fact of the matter remains you've been around these guys quite a bit. Is there any kind of thought process, oh, God, do we need to do that again? Does that exist?
No, not with this group. And I'll tell you what I've noticed in the last 5 months. First of all, there's a bit of a precedent because most the guts of the lug nuts of the wheel of Reed, Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones, all still here, and the way they reacted after Super Bowl 55, because we came blazing back, right? They have been magnificent this offseason. I'll just give you an example. OTAs are voluntary. Dana will tell you that. Danan, they're voluntary. There were several days in OTAs we had every defensive player on the field. I've never seen that in 32 years. Offensively, there were a few guys injured, but other than that, every player was there. Chris Jones worked as hard in March, April, May, part of June than I've ever seen him. So there's no hangover. Not saying we're going to be as good as we were last year, but there's a lot of areas. If you go back and kind of follow the podcast that I do with Matt McMullen, we kind of walk you on this path. But my biggest answer to you is infrastructure. There is such a strong, you can call it culture, whatever, there's such a strong infrastructure here of a blend of work ethic and talent and young guys and old guys being motivated that if we don't have as good a year as we all want to hope, it's not going to be because of hangover. Because I've seen just the opposite actually this spring and summer.
Danan, when you take a look at the makeup of the team, and you can identify very strongly with them because you're not that much older than those guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Ned.
The wide receiver core, we're told, of course, part of it is media hype. I understand that, but we're told it's as good as it ever was. Would you agree with that?
I definitely would agree upon that. And I will first say, when you go back and kind of piggybacking off of Mitch's comments, I thought in recent days as we're leading up to the season about kind of what my mindset was about this season and the kind of predicting some of the questions that I'll get. And I thought the first question would be about being blown out in the Super Bowl. And as a player, I started to think, I'm sure that I got blown out at times, whether it was at Iowa or here in Kansas City, and I can't remember one. I remember all the close losses, and I feel like that's where we are as a team, and that's the mindset of a player is that some days you just chalk it up like this isn't our day and this is their day. They are better than us on this day. Now, I might not concede that they are better than us overall. Part of that is ego. Part of that is preparation. Part of that is confidence in my team and maybe what's led us to that point. I go back to my rookie year in '93 when we played the Bills in the AFC Championship. We had blown them out at Arrowhead during the regular season. And we lost Monday night, which was actually my first game ever playing for the Chiefs. and then we lost to them in the AFC Championship. I couldn't tell you what the AFC Championship score was, but I do know that on that day, they were just a better team on their home field. If you kind of make that a parallel to what we experienced against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, they were a better team on that day. I guarantee you that from a player's perspective, that's their mindset, is that we were a really good and I say we were 15-1 last year because the last game against the Broncos, we didn't play any starters. We were 15-1, and then we rolled through the playoffs and got to another Super Bowl. But that mindset of recognizing that it allows you to kind of move on. And I feel like even as a fan base, we would have a struggle in moving on had it been a 2-point loss, right? Because we would have been dialing into every single play and criticizing every single move and what we should have did and this and that. And sometimes it's easier to digest when the other team is just significantly better than you are. Going back to your question, as a wide receiving crew, when you see what the Eagles were able to accomplish offensively, I'm telling you from a guy that's been in that room that you don't ever want to be overshadowed by a defensive backfield that you're playing against or an opposing wide receiving crew, because you believe you're the best crew in the NFL. So the fact that that's what happened in that game, I feel like that in addition to the health, as long as our guys stay healthy, and the fact that you have multiple guys in that wide receiver meeting room that have something to prove, whether it's one-year contracts, whether it's coming off of injuries, whether it's proving that we are a top echelon crew compared to all the noise that's made on other teams and other wide receiving units. So I do believe it's the most complete, but I feel like it's the most incentivized group that we've had in a while.
I think you make an
and I'll add this
point
too, Ned. We had 28 free agents. When the gun sounded at the end of Super Bowl 59, there were 28 free agents, either unrestricted, restricted, or otherwise. We re-signed Nick Bolton, M-I-Z, right? We re-signed Charles Omenihu. We just got Trey Smith signed. We just extended or basically did a new deal with Holthus. 14 of those 28 stayed. So people haven't mentioned that in NFL pundits. They're not talking about that. This team's roaring back because we lost some guys. You can't keep them all. But we felt like we kept the main guys. And so we're coming after it.
Danan brought up the fact that injuries play such a big role, and you guys have been around and seen the rate of attrition in the NFL. How big a deal is that, and can that be used as a legitimate excuse if there is some negativity about a team?
I would say this. I think culture supersedes that. When you have a strong culture and you have an identity as an organization, there are teams out there that have really good teams for a window of time. They have really good units for a window of time, offense, defense, special teams, what have you. But when you have a culture and an identity as an organization, to me, that supersedes any attrition that you would have. Now, we're not talking about losing Patrick Mahomes. We're not talking about losing Travis Kelce or Chris Jones or Trent McDuffie. But when you lose some of those other parts, I think you can at least be as good or you get better because you're bringing someone else into an organization that has an identity and they recognize what it takes to win football games, and not just win football games and be kind of quasi-playoff-ish, but to be challenging for the Super Bowl every single year. So I feel like this window of the last 7 years has proven. And Mitch mentioned Charles Omenihu. You can go throughout the list of not just drafted guys, but free agents and signees, Juju Smith-Schuster, other guys that have come in and recognized that there's something special about the identity and the culture here that makes them want to be here when, quite honestly, and I don't know because I'm not their agent, so I can't say 100%, but we have to think that it's a copycat league. We talk about that with the NBA, NFL, NHL, and obviously the NFL. Wouldn't it be smart to think that other teams would want some of our championship caliber guys, especially the ones that were free agents and could sign elsewhere? So why did they sign back here? And why did they sign so quickly? It's because they recognize something special. The grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence. So to me, I think that's kind of where we're standing right now.
They can see Levi Stadium on the horizon in February, too. That makes a very big difference.
Yes, sir.
How big a deal is Josh Simmons, and does he have that attitude coming into the Chiefs camp, in your opinion?
Josh has been, and I've used this phrase, Josh is ahead of schedule. I think in every way. We know he had, the Achilles issue, patellar tendon at Ohio State that knocked him out of their championship run. And let me be honest with you. This has not been an easy path for Josh going all the way back to Madison High School in San Diego because he was let go from that team and went to Helix one year, which was Alex Smith's alma mater, but never played. Then he went to San Diego State, good player, but wasn't a great player. He was having an incredible year last year at Ohio State before he was injured. Andy Reid has a way of getting his message across where it is loud and clear, without yelling at you, without berating you, but Josh was given that message loud and clear his first seconds in our building. Josh Simmons has been awesome. Everybody clears out for 3 weeks. It's the only thing the NFL has to a plant shutdown ever. Josh Simmons stayed around for the good part of that. I've seen him work. I've seen him work physically. He could end up being, if he's healthy and stays healthy, gets healthy, the steal of this draft, the Trey Smith of the 2025 draft, because he's got a chance to be really good. He's way ahead of where I thought he would be on July the 21. So there's a shot. We'll see. We're going to be in pads in a week, but the kid is really, really skilled and has a chance to really help us. And it does help that we can now move Suamatia into left guard. So, but I'm excited about Josh Simmons because I've already seen, and Danan laid it out, about our culture, the way when you come into the building, you're expected to be a certain way. When you're on the field, you're expected to be a certain way. And when your leaders like Mahomes and Kelsey are that way, but Josh has bought in, hook, line, and sinker. So I'm fired up about him even more than I thought he would be, both physically, mentally, and emotionally.
And he's a Buckeye, so outside of that, it's great.
On that note, though, if he pans out, it would be kind of like the same situation that we had with Trey and Karlaftis, where we have starting caliber players straight out the gate that we get at a low cost. And then pay them at the end for what they've done over the. So you can't look like with the Trey Smith deal and Karlaftis deal. You look at you're like 4 years, woo, that's money. But you really got to look at it as a 6-year deal, an 8-year deal.
When you have the quarterback, and I'm including the Bills here with Josh Allen, the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. We'll go right down the line. Burrow with the Bengals. Mike, you must do that. You have to have contributors in their first 2 years that become real contributors. Now, we've had that. The 22 draft class, they're all still here. It's amazing. If you get a class and you get 4 guys in a draft class 3 or 4 years later, you're like, wow, that's a really good class. All 10 of those cats are still here. They won't be here in 26 because we can't keep them all. But all of those guys have been contributors to this team that led to 2 Super Bowl championships and another AFC title. You must find guys that can contribute right away, which is going to segue into why I'm excited about the 25 class. And Art's alma mater, the Art Haynes Bowl is coming up with the Bears in Conference USA, now FBS, playing the Art Haynes Bowl against SMU at Plaster Stadium. I don't know who got SMU the booze to get him here, but they got him here. But the point is, Brashard Smith is a kid that we took late rounds, who I think could be dynamic. 4.39 actually looks faster than that. I'm looking at these guys all the way down the line, not starting with Josh Simmons, but coming all the way down the line where they remind me a lot. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, but they remind me a lot of the 22 class. So your point is a good one. If you've got the quarterback eating up cap money and he's a star, then you better find young guys that can play right away. Veach has done an amazing job.
In regards to the Chiefs' approach to the season, the NFL is kind of a league that's morphing in every respect, and so is all of professional sports as far as that's concerned. Danan, can you see a change in the style that the NFL plays, and are the Chiefs adaptable to that change?
As long as we hit people in the mouth, Ned, you can change everything else. Just let us hit people in the mouth.
Hit them in the mouth.
Hit them in the mouth.
That'll do it every time, won't it?
No, I think there's only but so much you can legislate in the game. I feel like the game is physical. I mean, I sustained a lot of concussions, and thank God that I'm still here and I still have all my faculties, and I'm able to be in the booth with him and keep up with him a little bit. He brings me along. He's my coach in the booth and has been. This will be 6 years in the booth, so it's been a blessing for me to be a part of this team and Chiefs Radio Network for that long. But I feel like there's only but so much that can be done in the game, and part of that is, to some extent, you lose some of the entertainment value, because I love, obviously, the wide receiver position. I hate defensive backs. That's ingrained in me. But I also hate the dynamic of the game where every single pass play, you wonder if there's going to be a flag. A wide receiver jumps up and looking for a flag, and so on. And I feel like that takes away from some of the entertainment. There's physicality, there's tussling, there's grabbing, there's techniques that are taught to disable a receiver's ability to make big plays. There's also techniques that are taught as a wide receiver to negate a defensive back's ability to make a play. That's just part of the game. Same thing with offensive line, defensive line, etc. So to answer Ned's question, I hope that we don't try to tighten the screws too much and you take away from the enjoyment and the fluidity of the game from a fan's perspective.
You're seeing it right now in basketball. I mean, the difference between the NBA and the WNBA is huge.
Yeah.
And why are you more interested in watching the women play? Because they can play.
Yeah.
And they can get physical.
Yep.
They're letting them play.
And everybody on the women's court can shoot a free
I've had
throw.
more fun watching WNBA games in the last couple of years than I have. Other than like the finals and the playoffs. I mean,
agree. Yep.
So, okay, we don't talk about the past anymore. Let's talk about the future. We talked about the draft class. We talked about some of the talent that we saw, and I felt like, again, Brett Veach in that front office, they don't sleep. They're making deals with Karlaftis on a Sunday, so obviously they're getting it done. There are a couple, though, that are out there in the free agents that we've extended for a little bit, but beyond this season kind of have me concerned. Will they be back?
The salary cap is the salary
Yeah.
cap. Now, we've been able to – people go, how can we have Trey Smith's deal and then you do Karlaftis' deal? Well, I don't know how many accountants are in here, but there is some bookkeeping, but it's still the salary cap. I mean, you can kind of kick the can down the road a little bit, but the fact that we're really good, our guy Chris Shea, who handles our cap, is the best in the league. But you can't sign everyone. I mean, Derek Nottie was a really good player for us. Great two-gap player in the middle. We couldn't keep him. McCole Hardman did a lot of great things for us. Couldn't keep him. And so with the young guys that are emerging, then Justin Reed, good player, box player maybe, not great coverage, but with Jaden Hicks, who's in his second year at Washington State, who I'm really excited about. I mentioned him a year ago at this time because I saw him in the spring going, we might have something here. That allows you to move on from a Justin Reed. So it goes back to the point you have to continue to draft well and develop those players as you go. But we've been able to do that. And so that's why our OTAs are important. Some of these teams blow them off. We attack them. And that's why Patrick puts a lot of emphasis on them, why Coach does, because we got to get these young guys up and running. And when we hit camp now, it can't be, first day of class. That's way over. If you weren't jumping in right after the draft in May, if you're a rookie, you're going to get left behind. So that all is part of this winning. The other thing that I think that we got to think about here is here's one thing that frustrates me about this league is that we want to make the next year like the last year, or our comparative narrative is, oh, the Chiefs, well, they're not going to win 9 one-possession games again. Yeah, you can't do that again. Well, maybe we'll win by 2 possessions, right? So the fact is that we had the longest per-play drive last year at 6.17, could change this year. Don't know when Rashi's going to get suspended. It's coming at some point. But he had an awesome spring. He's way ahead of having his ACL coming back, his rehab. And with Xavier Worthy's turning into a player. And he showed that at the end of last year. Brashard Smith. I mean, we got a 4x100 meter relay team that might win state. So the point is, we're going to be faster. We're going to be more explosive. We have a chance to be better on third down on defense. We were 26th in the league last year on third down defense. Oh, the new kickoff rule. Wow, what's that going to do? Because the touchback is now the 35. We've been working on returns all year and kicking in the landing zone. Well, wait a minute. If you give Pat the ball at the 40 or the 38, the numbers go way up on scoring. Well, maybe somebody runs a kick back. The last time we had a kick return for a touchdown or punt return was COVID, 2020. Byron Pringle against the Broncos, and a punt return was McCole Hardman against Miami. Maybe we'll get a punt return. So it won't be necessarily grinding it out and get to the red zone and hope we can grind it in with Kareem Hunt. It may be a different team in 2025, and I think it will be. I think we'll be more explosive on all 3 phases, not just offense and defense. I think we're going to have a chance to be much more explosive on special teams.
Yeah, got an art question.
2 questions. Other than Josh and Brashard, what other rookie draftees do you think might have an instant impact?
Honestly, I think all 7 of them have got a shot of helping. Noel Williams, the corner out of Cal, really excited about him. But the one you don't know about probably that it might be the most excited is Ashton Gelati out of Louisville. And we have used him. We drop him into coverage. He's super athletic. He's got Karloftis' motor. He works out with Karloftis and has. Like, Karloftis' college coach went to Louisville. So that's the same dude. But that guy is going to – people are going, where'd we get this guy? Number 97, because Felix moved his number to 91. So, but that dude's got a chance to be an impact right away. So, honestly, all of them have got a shot to help us. There's nobody there going, well, might take 2 years to get him up and running. They all have a chance to help us win in Brazil.
Okay, what do you think is the status of the stadium going forward?
Danan, go ahead.
Where the Royals going to be? Let's answer that question first.
I feel like the cat. I feel like the dude that was caught on camera, with the.
We going over in the park? We're in Lenexa. Where are we going?
I will say this, and I don't think anybody, Mitch is obviously over at the stadium more than I am, at the facility more than I am. But I'll just say this. I don't think anybody knows 100% how everything's going to transpire. But I also understand both sides. I kind of live by the creed of 2 things can be true at the same time. When you go and you experience, even to the height, even though I never want to give the Raiders credit just because it's in my DNA not to, they have the best stadium in the NFL. The best as far as access, as far as, and that's because the Chiefs flag is underneath. But when you go to Baltimore, when you are able to go around the league at different venues, and you see kind of the ballpark village type of structure like you see in St. Louis, you recognize how much revenue is being lost. And I thought, and I said this earlier, and Mitch, you don't have to subscribe to this, but this is just my perspective. I thought the window of opportunity somewhat opened and somewhat closed in Kansas City at Truman Sports Complex prior to KCP&L being built. And if you think back in the history in Kansas City, especially when I was there in the 90s, nobody went downtown, right? Downtown was like, there's nothing to go down there. It was like, just desolate. And that would have been an opportunity to kind of build a ballpark village type around Truman Sports Complex, and yet that was never able to to happen. Adams Mark is opened and closed, and Cold Key or whatever, Cocoa Key or whatever, opened and closed. And so then therefore, you kind of on one side of the fence see like, well, what's the expansion? Like, well, like, is there really expansion opportunities right here on this plot of land? So then Kansas now comes into the mix. So I understand both sides of the fence. I love where we're at now. I hope that it works out, but I also understand both sides. So I don't know if that answers your question. I just kind of see both perspectives. I'm biased just like everybody in this room, but I also understand the total package.
Can I say something about this? Two things you're not thinking of, and I need all the phones down. Look around the room, Mike. I don't want anybody, or maybe our theater manager.
We'll bleep this out.
Because you came here because you love the Chiefs, and I love the Chiefs, and Danan loves the Chiefs. We put a lot of blood into it. Let me tell you two things that are in this decision, and I'm not saying where it's going to be. Think of who is coming. This isn't game day. Take game day out of it. Think who is coming in and out of our workplace every day and every night throughout 300 plus days of the year, and leaving at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. And think who's in those cars leaving. Coaches leaving at 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. Think about security, not game day. Security in the workplace. If it's in Missouri, there's going to have to be some very, very intentional work done, more than the stadium, to create. Because think of what happened to Kels and Pat and Alex Gordon, who got the worst of it down at Loch Lloyd. All right. No one thinks about that. That's got to be high priority in this decision. Second thing is, imagine the ballpark village. Have you been to St. Louis Ballpark Village at school? We all been there. Think about that on steroids. So that 350 days out of the year, you're going to be able to go, and Danan can take his grandkids, and I could take my granddaughters, and we could go something really cool, have basically Chiefs Kingdom Disneyland every night and every day. And that becomes a key revenue piece as you move in to the future. And this has to be a 50-year decision. It's not a decision about now. It's 50 years from now that we've got to look at this. And so the third thing I would say, we got to be ready either way to accept it. It's not 1855 anymore, and there's now the border ruffians going up against the heated Red Legs, all right? So that's the mindset we have to have going into this, in the fact that something really awesome could be built on either side of the line. But those factors, those boxes have to be checked. And so people just aren't thinking about those things when they're looking at the stadium issue, and it's imperative.
And either way, they're the Kansas City Chiefs.
Sir.
Yeah, no matter where they are, as long as they don't.
Yes.
My biggest fear is the ballpark village idea has been floating around since this whole thing, like that idea, that scheme. As long as they do not touch what we have on that lot, that is such an integral part about what we do there, that as long as they allow that to exist in its own way. Because if you go back to when the St. Louis Rams were in St. Louis, and every preseason the Chiefs ever played there, I was at that game. There were more Chiefs fans in that town than there were blue ever. And you'd go walk around, and as a lifelong Chiefs fan, you go, where's everyone tailgating at? Where's the grills?
Tailgate.
And then you see like some rich dude with a parking lot, little side loft, and him and his rich friend, and you're just like, what is this? So my point is, I always want to be inclusive, right? It doesn't cost anything. I mean, you cost something to park there, but you see what I mean? Everyone gets to be in on that party. But when you create something like Ballpark Village, then you create a price point. And then it doesn't become inclusive anymore.
But my answer to that, Mike, I agree. But the one thing that I would, is the hunts always, they think the way you think.
As long as that's I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying as long as someone, if you're listening, Clark, anyone who is a part of this decision,
Yep.
just hold on to that too, because that's just as important to us as Mahomes getting his stuff jacked out of his house, or anybody else who got their stuff. That is just as important. And if you want a fan base to turn on you, forget that. 'Cause
I would
guarantee-
say that they recognize how special the atmosphere is and has been around the Chiefs Stadium, around Truman Sports Complex, and the legacy of that. So I feel like that's probably
I hope
part of their decision-making process.
But think about the parade we had, the last one. Awesome day.
Oh yeah.
Incredible weather. I saw so many kids in that parade route. In the back of a pickup with Dan Casey Wolf, who's retiring. But I remember just high five, and then think how it ended. Just put that. Just know that's you've got to prevent that. And so I'm just telling you, people haven't thought about it, but it's a major issue.
Question directed to Danan, if I can. Since you're an ex-player and you can identify strongly with the players, there is apparently a pretty strong move, and it's probably going to happen for an 18-game season. How do you feel about it?
As a worker, how do you feel about it? Someone's got to do.
So I'll say this. I don't appreciate the hypocrisy of the NFL in regards to player safety and all the measures that went into the rhetoric and the implementation of certain rules and all of that stuff that happened around the movie Concussion coming out. And I've been vocal about the fact that although I'm extremely blessed and I can still sit up here and speak, I had 14 concussions that I counted while I was playing. And I appreciated that the NFL, although it took them a long time, recognized that there was some safety issues in the game. And they went to certain measures to address those issues. But I feel like there's been a flip. And I don't really appreciate that because I don't think you can have both things be true at the same time. So by the smoke and mirrors of we'll take away one preseason game and add a 17th game, and now the discussion of 18 games, you negate all of that work, all of that mileage that you were able to gain with former players, many of which are worse off than me. Not just from a concussion standpoint, but I'm part of the Chiefs ambassadors. Mitch obviously knows it extremely well. We have 59 former Chiefs in the Kansas City area that do these type of things, raise money for various charities, et cetera. We have guys that we still have Jerry Cornelison, who played for the Dallas Texans. So we have 60 years of history in the Kansas City Chiefs organization that's represented still. And I've seen the knee surgeries that the Danan cherries and the hip surgeries and the back surgeries of guys from 40 years ago till recently. And to think that there's a league that we were part of it. And don't get me wrong, I understand there's an aspect of it that we signed up for. Like, I get it. Like, I know that I signed up for certain aspects. But I will also say, and this is not a knock to the Chiefs organization or anybody within, but the best treatment I ever had for my concussions was 2 Tylenol, an ice bag, and smelling salts. That I did not sign up for. I'm not the doctor, right? I'm not the medical staff. I'm not anything like that. So when you compile all of that data together and all that experience, and I'm going to golf tournaments and I'm going to rallies and speaking engagements, and God rest his soul, rest in peace, Ed Buddy needs help from other guys, and Jerry Cornelison is walking with a walker, and Danan Cherry has battled multiple surgeries on both knees and backs, and other guys that are more recent are talking about getting certain surgeries and this and that. And now you fast forward to what you're talking about, an 18th game. I just got a problem with that. I feel like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. And I think from a player's perspective and a former player's perspective, I don't think that's going to be received well. Now, the general public, they see the money, you see the salaries, and you may not have as much sympathy for those guys. Well, they're getting paid so much money, X, Y, and Z. I get that perspective. I can only tell you from my perspective, that there's only certain levels where the money kind of takes over for everything else that you have to deal with and what you may have to deal with for the rest of your life. And so I am not a fan of that. I understand from a business perspective and a revenue perspective that it's a strong possibility. But if somebody's asking me my opinion, that's where it is.
Can I tag something on this? Because I think it just is adding on to this. Our team last year was asked to play 3 games in 10 days. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous, okay? Now, as fans, we would have the NFL every day of the week if we could. The numbers are there. And Ned, every time some streaming service comes into play and Netflix gets Christmas Day, they go, we have to have the Chiefs. All right? Amazon, we got to have the Chiefs. Black Friday, we get Black Friday now. So some of the hypocrisy here is the league is like, just shovel the money in here, but what is it doing to your asset? And it's the players mostly, but then also the coaches. I mean, it's very taxing on these human beings. I sat there in a chapel last year on Christmas Eve in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And yeah, there were 4 teams that had to play 3 games in 10 days, but none of those other 3 were trying to chase a 1 seed and trying to get a 3-peat for the first time ever. The tension in our season last year was every day from July 21 or even before that on. I sat in that chapel on a Christmas Eve night in Pittsburgh, and I looked around the room at our guys. There was about 30 guys in there, and they were shot. They were shot, and they're a little bit sad because their families are having Christmas Eve at home. And so they don't have time to recover. We had just played the Saturday prior. We have to beat Pittsburgh the next day to get the 1 seed. And I looked around that room and I thought, what are we doing in this league? And our chaplain, Marcellus Casey, was awesome that night. He talked about, going together as a band of brothers and trying to do it just because it was just us, basically. But I've thought we have got to figure this out. So the 18th game, you're going to play every day of the week. Everybody's streaming service all win a game. We're going to play Thursdays and Tuesdays and Mondays and like Sundays at noon, or like we never play Sunday at noon, right? But the point is, what are we doing to our players and the asset of the game? So if there's an 18th game, you're going to have a Super Bowl the last weekend of February. It's going to be extended. We've got to have bye weeks. You cannot ask teams to play 3 games in 10 days. That's ridiculous.
Amen. We all know it's BS. All right, we got a few minutes left. Historically, I try to let you guys ask a couple questions for Mitch and Danan. So, Big Brad.
Why is Juwan Taylor still on the roster?
Brad asked that, not me. Did you hear the question?
So I will say this. From a player's perspective, I'm not going to stand up here and say we have the best tackles, we have the best defensive ends, we have the best linebackers, we have the best whatever. But I will say that things are more complex than what you may think you see. I was looking at Twitter/X, and there's times where I get bored. There's times where I got time. Quite honestly, there's times where I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm going to be there for a little while. So I engage, right? Okay. So let me present a picture for you. Play is called in a huddle. Now, this is my world. Play is called in a huddle. I've been that wide receiver that has been called for holding, that have been called for illegal crackbacks, etc. Play is called in a huddle. It's supposed to go left. It's all week long we've practiced it that it goes left. So all week long I practice to block right or left all the way to the sideline. Those are my only 2 options. block away from where the ball's going, or block front side and push it towards the sideline. All of the sudden, let's remember, the defense gets paid too. They do their research, they do their studying, they do their scouting report, etc. Their job is to not allow us to do what we're supposed to do. And all it takes is one person to do that. So all it takes is one person to win somewhere, where now what you've drawn up and practiced since training camp is no longer going to be viable right at this moment. And now Kareem Hunt has to cut backwards. Marcus Allen cuts backwards. Kimball Anders cuts backwards. Tony Richardson cuts backwards. And now I'm blocking my guy in a way that is now going to make a negative play possibly more negative. And I have either a decision to make, or I'm caught off guard because I know we've never practiced where this play is supposed to go backwards. And things happen, again, because the defense is paid like the offense. Now, that doesn't mean I'm making an excuse for sloppy play, but I am also telling you that, and Mitch can attest to this, when I sit in the booth, and I'm not like I'm not going to say a Tony, Troy Aikman, Tony Romo, all the color analysts. The one thing we see the game, you guys have heard me say this over the past few years coming, we don't see the game better, we see it different. I don't see the game better than anybody in here, I just see it different. You run a play, Mitch makes a call on the play, in real action, real time, I see all 22 players and exactly what they did. Why the play worked, why it didn't work. That's just because of the history of me being involved in the game and how I studied the game and how it started with Coach, with my man at K-State, Coach Schneider. That's who first taught me the game of football at Iowa and how to study the game of football. I know it's long-winded. I know you want a quick answer, but I can tell you there's more complexities that go in to the game of football, what officials allow you to do, what they allow you to, just like when you mentioned basketball and officiating, they allow Juwan to line up in a certain way 90% of the snaps, and then they call it at certain times because of an inch here and there, because of circumstances, whatever. There's more complexities in the game than just what you think you see at the time.
We weren't thrilled about it either. Okay.
Okay,
we weren't
we
thrilled
get it.
about it either.
We get it, Brad. You don't like Juwan Taylor.
But
on to the next one.
No. If I rented this theater tonight, and we had Coach Snyder's clicker, and Danan was running the clicker, you're going to see a whole bunch of really good plays by that dude. That we kind of. Now I'm telling you,
it gets overshadowed.
We won a Super Bowl with him, and we went to a Super Bowl the next year with him, and his best football was in the playoffs. And if he continues to goof up, we've got Issa Pole, a rookie from Washington State. We've got Jalen Moore. We can move Wanye over there. So don't think that we're – well, I'm also – or he plays better because when he's good, he's a pretty damn good right tackle.
All right, on to the next one. Sir, your name?
Connor, my man Connor.
How good do you think Rashee Rice is going to do this year?
I think when you are Rashee Rice, putting myself back into that mindset as a player, you find every reason to have incentive to dominate. I've mentioned this in the past when I've been down here. I can literally remember myself sitting in my locker thinking that my opponents said something about my mama, kicked my dog, spit on my sister. Like I can remember trying to think of every single thing that will make me want to go out and dominate and annihilate the defense or the special teams. So I can only imagine if you're Rashee Rice and you screwed up, did some crazy things, was reckless, literally and figuratively, and then got injured and then sat on the sideline or sat in your living room and watched your team get beat the way they got beat in the Super Bowl, from a competitive standpoint, from just thinking of bringing myself back to 93 to 98 when I played, he is going to play with a reckless abandon, with a dominating mindset that I don't think we've seen yet from him. And that's going to be fun to watch. And that's where my eyes are going to gravitate a lot of the time from the booth.
I saw glimpses of it this summer and spring. Exactly that. Exactly that. And that's his mindset. Now, we're looking at probably a 4-game suspension. So when your mom tells you on prom night to be careful, be careful. He's just fortunate. Rashi's fortunate nobody got killed in that deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, it's vehicular homicide, and he's in Huntsville, Texas, and not playing at Sam Houston State. Okay? So,
On that note, real quick, it's 30 days whenever he wants to serve, correct?
No.
Or is it all
Well,
concurrent?
it's the suspension from the league that's
Yeah.
going to be the 30 days. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be pretty loose in that. But
What are we thinking? 3
Are
to
you talking
5?
about from a legal standpoint?
Yeah,
legal
sta-
the 30 days will likely be in the off season,
Okay.
I would assume.
The-
But from the league perspective, they will mandate when the hammer drops, kind of like what we saw with Charles Amenahu
Yeah.
a couple of years ago.
What are we thinking? 3 to 5 or more?
I'd say 4. If I had to guess, 4.
Danan, what do you think it'll be?
I'd say 4 to 6.
Okay. Well, we're close. Sir, you got a question?
It is without pay, is it? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be without pay.
Oh, no, it's not good.
In the future, how do you feel like Jalen Royals is gonna? But yeah.
Perform is what he said at the end.
Ooh, Royals?
Yeah, Jalen Royals.
I think I'll say this. I said Andy Reid is the mad scientist of offense, and you'd be hard-pressed. Even some of the guys that have struggled, they haven't struggled because of not being put in a position to be successful. They've struggled because either they've tried too hard. You know, I think of Sky Moore, and people have given, a lot of shade towards Sky Moore. You don't ever see him not open. You don't ever see him not be in a position to make plays. I think as a former wide receiver, the times where I've messed up is when I tried to catch the ball. I tried to make a play. God gave me 10 good reasons to catch a football. They call fingers, right? And when I tried to do something, I remember a big-time drop I had against the Denver Broncos in the playoffs in '97. I remember multiple plays, more of the bad plays than I do remember the good plays. And I can remember my mindset of thinking as the ball was in the air, I got to catch this ball instead of just catching the ball. So I feel like if he's able to get over the hump with that, that's just the one example. But I feel like when you play and you allow your preparation through the offseason, through the OTAs, through your extra work, through the jugs machines, just as an example, and then you just go out and you let your God-given ability and your preparation take over, that's where that success will happen. And I feel like that's where we'll bode well, and those specific players will bode well. So when you talk about Royals, I feel like he is in a position on a team that has had a history of putting guys in positions to be successful and play well and win, whether that's McCole Hardman being a gadget guy early in his career, whether it's Tyreek Hill and his role and how he grew into his greatness, whether it's Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, you can go through everybody on this roster and in previous successful seasons rosters and remember specific plays where they were put in situations to be successful, and that's because of the greatness of Andy Reid and this offensive staff.
You ever helped your dad hang a door? You know what a door hinge is? You ever seen a hinge? Jalen Royals, his role, and it may be a while because Juju Smith-Schuster's there, and Juju changed kind of the way he plays. In being with Coach now, this is going into 13th year with Coach, he has a guy that's a door hinge. And the door hinge sets up, you ever wonder why Kelsey gets so open? Or there's a door hinge player. They're a receiver on a play, but they also allow the door to open for other people, whether that's a legal pick, or the way they run routes. Jalen Royals is really smart. He was a basketball point guard. The reason he was at Utah State was he didn't play really high school football. He was an AAU basketball dude. And so he goes to JUCO, a military JUCO, and then he goes to Utah State. Super smart. But his role, if he's going to flourish in this offense and in the league, will be door hinge guy. The other thing that, and I think we've said this before, is if you're going to play in this offense and you're a wide receiver, you're not an X, you're not a Z, you're not a slot, you're everyone. You got to learn 3 languages. You got to learn every position. And so Jalen right now is being like, dude, figure this out.
There's 2 points that Mitch made that I want to piggyback off of. One, for any kids in here, for any parents with kids that are athletes, that's a perfect example among a million others. And people have heard me say this. Don't specialize in any one sport. Be an athlete. Be a part of programs that will allow you to become a better athlete. Whether I played baseball, basketball, and football growing up. I played baseball and football in college. I played baseball and football in the pros. And I can specifically attribute my success in one sport to my experiences in the other sports. Basketball, the side-to-side agility, the quickness, the speed, the pace of the game, how that helped me on the football field, how the aggressiveness, the toughness of football helped me stand in the batter's box against 95 miles an hour, how I actually won a job on the Chiefs as a punt returner on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills, having never punt returned in my life. And the reason why I was confident is because I knew how to track a fly ball as an outfielder. So don't specialize. Don't ever let anybody in this day and age where you have facilities and organizations and money grabs, etc., don't let anybody talk your son into playing 365 days of baseball, 365 days of basketball. Spread your wings and things will sort out and you will be a better complete athlete for not specializing in any one sport.
I got one more quick one.
So back to the new stadium, what's your guys' thoughts about the PSL possibly happening and pricing us season ticket members? I'm going on my 10th year as that, possibly pricing us out, changing the atmosphere of it, having it where people are coming in paying whatever the PSL rights are for our seats in order, just changing the actual dynamics of the Chiefs, fans being there getting priced out because we can't afford it.
The Hunts have really, because PSLs have been around maybe 20 years, 25. And the Hunts have avoided that, the right to pay for the seat, right? We see in colleges, Mizzou's got it, K-State's got it, KU's got it, they got it. You're going to buy a seat, you're going to give a donation to either the NIL collective or I guess it doesn't with the collective, but you are with the scholarship. Iowa's got it. The Hunts, though, I will tell you, because of who they are, what they are, even if those exist, there will always be part of the stadium that will be, it goes back to the point Mike was making, where there's always going to be something for everyone. It's just the way they think, because rarely does a second generation think like the first generation, but the kids, especially Clark, thinks like his dad. In fact, he's taken the visions even higher. So with the stadium issue, hopefully you've got a little more to think about here than just what people are thinking about on the obvious. But the other thing I would tell you to think about too is I trust the Hunts with the way they're going to, wherever the stadium's going to be, but they're also going to try to make it where you're going to have experiences on June where you're going to drive up and have a vacation, and it's going to be a Chiefs vacation that you haven't even thought about yet, or your grandkids or kids will have.
Chiefs cruise?
All right. Bus trip.
Chiefs cruise. Yeah.
147 The Cave, Point Sale, they'll take you on a bus trip on June. Have at it. And you can drink all night.
All right. I think that's all the time we got. Guys, we do this every year to close this thing down. So the voice of the Chiefs, we gotta do a little bit of a chant.
We're going to fire them up. Oh, yeah.
We're going to fire them up. We say bye.
But we
again, thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors. Thank you to the Alamo Draft House for hosting. Thank you again. for coming through, seeing us every year. You come back, and that means the world to me that I get to see all of you every year, at least right now before the season starts, and I am working my ass off. So thank you so much. I love you. Go Chiefs, sir.
But you got to get your butts out of those seats. If you want to come rest in the butt in the back of the seat, come to Saturday's showing of Superman. Otherwise, get your butt out of the seat because it's time to go. Because what everybody's saying, oh, the division's coming after us. Folks, we have won the division 9 straight years. All right? That is second in NFL history, only to the Patriots 11. Our division hates us. Danan wants to fight them all.
Hit him in the mouth!
Yeah. The other thing, before you get into the night and follow out the Kingdom Queens, the queens of the Queen City of the Ozarks, consider this, because everybody thinks we're all going to die because we're going to go 3-14. Over the past 10 years, this is 3 years prior to Pat. In the past 10 years, think of Major League Baseball, think of the National Hockey League, think of the NBA. The Kansas City Chiefs are the winningest franchise in 10 years of any of the pro sports. So now that you get the blood out of your butt, let's go, right? We're going to do this and yell it as loud as you can because we know touchdowns are not just touchdowns in the Chiefs' kingdom. You gargle the sweet nectar of the end zone, right? So you ready to rip it out? Let's go. Connor, first day of school. You have the kids in your class do this on 3. Are you ready? Because touchdowns are special. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Touchdown! Kansas City! Let's go kick some butt.